Co-founded by Peter Thiel back in 2003, its mission, providing software that customers use to integrate volumes of data from images to spreadsheets into a central platform where it can then be securely analyzed and interpreted.
It was the middle of the Iraq War. American troops were dying from roadside bombs almost daily. Intelligence was scattered across silos. Surveillance footage here, troop movements there, financial records over in another department. One tiny slip-up could cost lives. That's when a little-known startup walked into the Pentagon with a bold promise.
This will await a final decision by President Obama, but the Pentagon at this hour is now prepared to send 100 U.S. ground troops, military advisors to Iraq.
Give us your chaos, and we'll find the enemy. The company's name? Palantir. Fast forward to today, and that same company, once described as a Silicon Valley misfit.
Palantir, we know, has attracted a lot of attention for the work it has done for the U.S. government, including the CIA and Department of Homeland Security.
Is now worth over $250 billion. It's embedded in everything from drone warfare to hospital systems to predicting pandemics. But here's the thing. Ask 10 people what Palantir actually does, and you'll get 10 different answers. Because Palantir doesn't just make software, it makes influence. And to understand how it became one of the most mysterious and powerful tech companies in the West, we need to follow the money, the war contracts, the scandals, and the man at the center of it all. The year's 2003. America is neck deep in the war on terror. The CIA and NSA are drowning in data names, dates, satellite footage, informant reports, but they can't connect the dots fast enough. This is where Palantir enters the chat. With backing from Peter Thiel, one of PayPal's original founders, Palantir sets out to build software that can analyze massive troves of information and spot patterns, terrorist networks, bomb plans, enemy movements faster than any analyst ever could. They name the software Gotham. It becomes the intelligence community's secret weapon. Soldiers in Afghanistan start using it to predict IED placements. Analysts use it to spot insurgent behavior. In many cases, it works. The Defense Department keeps calling. But this is only the beginning, because once Palantir proved it could win wars, it started pitching itself as a company that could win anything. And to understand how it went from anti-terrorism to total influence, we have to look at what it built next. Palantir's software suite isn't just about finding terrorists anymore, it's evolved. Today, the company offers 3 flagship platforms. Gotham, still used by militaries and intelligence agencies. Foundry, designed for corporations, hospitals, banks, and energy firms. AIP, short for Artificial Intelligence Platform, Palantir's newest product, combining their data engine with large language models and AI. Here's how it works. Imagine a global corporation with thousands of spreadsheets, customer databases, shipping records, and financial logs. Foundry takes all that and makes it searchable, linkable, and, if you believe Palantir's marketing smart enough to make decisions for you, need to figure out where to send your next shipment during a global pandemic? Foundry has a dashboard for that. Need to predict a labor shortage 6 months from now? AIP claims it can forecast that too. And this has created a huge commercial customer base. BP, General Mills, even United Airlines are clients. But the real power still lies in Gotham. Because Gotham isn't just software, it's a battlefield brain. And it's already shaping the wars of the future, in ways most people have never even heard of. In recent years, Palantir has locked in contracts for some of the most advanced military tech systems in the US Project Maven, Titan. These aren't science fiction projects. They're real, operational systems that fuse AI with military hardware. Project Maven uses machine learning to scan hours of drone footage for enemy activity. No more slow human review. It automates kill chain decisions. Titan, on the other hand, is what the Army calls its first AI-defined battlefield platform. It can reduce what the military calls sensor-to-shooter time, meaning how long it takes from seeing a threat to pulling the trigger. It's not just about gathering intel anymore, it's about weaponizing it. And Palantir is positioning itself not just as a supplier, but as a strategist. The company doesn't build missiles. It builds the system that decides when and where to fire them. And that's what makes Palantir different. Because while traditional defense giants like Lockheed and Raytheon build the hardware, Palantir is trying to become the software that controls it all. But to pull this off, they needed something even more powerful than tech: access. And what they did next would raise serious questions about ethics, privacy, and government loyalty. To dominate defense, you can't just have the best software, you need to know the right people. And that's where Palantir plays a different kind of game. From the beginning, the company hired former military officers, national security officials, and ex-CIA personnel. These weren't just tech geeks. These were people who already had the Pentagon's phone number. One former CIA operative even called Palantir the Shadow State's software vendor. During the Trump administration, several Palantir execs were appointed to top government roles. And at the same time, the company started landing massive contracts. Over $1.3 billion in Department of Defense deals since 2009. But here's what really raises eyebrows. Many of Palantir's biggest contracts were awarded without competitive bidding. That means no one else even got to try. Critics call this an inside track. Supporters call it efficiency. Palantir calls it mission critical. And this network of influence isn't limited to defense, because what Palantir did during COVID-19 would reveal just how deep its reach goes. When the pandemic hit in 2020, governments were scrambling. They needed a way to track outbreaks, allocate supplies, and manage vaccine rollout. And fast. Enter Palantir. In the US, the company built the Tiberius system, a platform to track vaccine distribution. They also helped health departments manage ICU capacity, oxygen supply, and ventilator logistics. Meanwhile, in the UK, Palantir signed contracts to help overhaul NHS England's data systems, one of the largest centralized patient databases in the world. To some, it was a lifeline. To others, it was a Trojan horse. Civil liberties groups began sounding alarms. Palantir, once known for surveillance tech used by law enforcement and immigration authorities, now had access to sensitive health data for millions of people. The concern wasn't just what they could see, it was what they might do with it. Because Palantir isn't your average vendor. Their whole pitch is, we can see what no one else sees. And if that's true, what happens when they turn those tools on society itself? Which brings us to the elephant in the server room, privacy. Back in the 2010s, the New Orleans Police Department partnered with Palantir to test a predictive policing program. The goal? Use data to predict where crimes might occur and who might commit them. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's basically Minority Report. The project was kept secret for years. Even the city council didn't know about it. When journalists uncovered the program, privacy advocates erupted. Palantir said it was just a pilot. Critics said it was pre-crime surveillance. And this wasn't the only controversial partnership. Palantir reportedly built tools for ICE that helped plan workplace raids and track undocumented immigrants. Their software has been used by intelligence agencies in Ukraine and Israel for war-related missions. In the US, watchdogs say Palantir systems are nearly impossible to audit, meaning the public has no idea what kind of surveillance is happening behind closed doors. And here's the wild part. All of this, the drones, the military systems, the hospital dashboards, the predictive policing, feeds into the same business model. Palantir takes your data, your decisions, your uncertainty, and sells back control. But who exactly is behind this empire? To really understand Palantir's rise and its cult-like following, we need to talk about the men at the top. Peter Thiel may have seeded the idea, but the face of Palantir, the one on magazine covers, at Investor Day presentations, and pacing like a Roman emperor, is CEO Alex Karp. With wild gray curls, cryptic speeches, and a wardrobe that says philosophy professor turned warlord, Karp isn't your average tech CEO. He doesn't talk like Zuckerberg. He doesn't tweet like Musk. He declares. He's called short sellers enemies of civilization. He's spoken about dominating competitors like it's a medieval crusade. And once, in an earnings call, he ranted about spraying fentanyl-laced urine from drones on analysts who bet against his stock. Unfiltered? Yes. Strategic? Absolutely. Because while Karp makes headlines with his eccentric style, he's also carefully crafting a brand. One where Palantir isn't just a company, but a mission. A mission to defend the West, to rebuild the bond between Silicon Valley and national defense, and to prove that data is the ultimate weapon. Investors love it. Reddit calls him Daddy Karp. And even as critics slam the company for its secrecy, invasiveness, and moral gray zones, Palantir's stock keeps climbing. But here's the real question. Is Palantir the future of defense, or the beginning of something much harder to control? In the old days, power was measured by armies, oil, and real estate. Today it's measured in data, and Palantir holds the keys to some of the most sensitive data sets in the world. They don't make bombs. They decide where they land. They don't treat patients. They decide who gets the treatment. They don't patrol streets. They decide who gets watched. From war zones to boardrooms to hospital corridors, Palantir has embedded itself into the infrastructure of modern decision-making. And whether you see them as patriots, profiteers, or prophets, one thing is clear. Palantir isn't just building software. They're building the operating system for power itself.